It is Friday, July 21st, 2023. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It's a Friday puzzle today, which means it is a themeless crossword today, and not only that, it is a themeless crossword from the most iconic of Friday themeless constructors for the New York Times, Robin Weintraub, often known as the Queen of the Friday. She has very fun Friday puzzles that aren't generally brutally difficult, but they're extremely clever. They've got nice bits of punnery and misdirection. I always really enjoy them. I hope you do as well. And we'll find out in a moment. So this hopefully enjoyable edition of the Daily Solve has been brought to us by Noah Bezanson, Madeline Lee, Tom Nemchek, and as always, the indomitable Shoalmaster and the incredible Horan family. So thank you so much to the 5 of them, benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign, for their generous support. They're sustaining this channel and bringing us this series each day. For that, I'm very grateful. And you can find the bonus videos for patrons at patreon.com/dailysolve or via a link in the description field. And there you can find the bonus videos available to patrons, including today, after I record this, I will record and post the weekly Friday mini puzzles pseudo speed solve, so look forward to that as a patron. Of course, there's also the mug, the official mug for benefactors. All right, and please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's a big help. Thanks if you've done that. And you can also check out the Daily Solve Discord chat server. There's a link to that friendly chat community in the description field. So, having said all that, let's get on to today's puzzle by our august themeless constructor, Robin Weintraub, who's constructed more than 40 puzzles for the New York Times to date. And it was edited, of course, as always, by Will Shortz. So let's start solving and see what the Queen of the Fridays has in store for us today. Don't be something. Don't be a stranger. Don't be shy. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Fits. Call upon arriving home, maybe. I don't know if that fits. Let's look at the other crosses. Privy to, well, actually this does. If you're privy to something, you're in on it. Meaning of the Persian suffix stan, that means land, which is why it's appended to so many country names. Business abbreviation, a leader, doesn't really fit. I'm not sure. Ding, 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 we have a winner. You, not sure. I'm fairly confident about silly now, though, with that I and the L. So let's look at this. And what follows both the living and dead? Yes, the living and the dead. What follows both the living and dead? No, it's not. I was thinking it had something to do with the phrase the living and the dead, but no, it's end. What follows both the living and the dead? Living end, dead end. The living end. Am I parsing this correctly? Dead end is a phrase. Is living end a phrase, or does it mean the end will come to all living things? I'm not sure which the clue is saying. It works either way, I suppose. But anyway, it's clearly the answer. Call upon arriving home, maybe. Right, okay, so I don't see what this is, in fact. Call upon arriving home, maybe. Oh, class some people are dying to get into anatomy something. Slightly dark anatomy lab. Someone dies in order to be physically brought into the anatomy lab to be dissected. There we go. I mean, that's some classic Friday themeless punnery there. Call upon arriving home, maybe. So what is it? Oh, safe. It's in baseball. Right. Okay. Very good. So that, at least for me, was a bit of misdirection because my brain does not go to baseball immediately. I'm sure for many of you it would have been a quicker solve there. Features of some cheesy dinner parties. Fondue. Fondue pots? What do you call it? Fondue. Fondue, is that dish where the cheese is melted and then you dip things into it. But I can't remember what the equipment is called. Is it called a fondue pot? That's the most obvious thing. But anyway, this is a nice clue. Cheesy dinner parties, of course, punning on the usage of the word cheesy in the idiomatic sense. Dating preference. And buckets, a lot of something, buckets of it. Pulls and analyzes online information, e.g. data scrapes. Data, it's going to be data something, surely. Scraped doesn't fit. Data, yeah, something. Aren't I something? Core group, a core muscle group could be your abs, a muscle group in your core physically. So another just bit of light misdirection because core group looks like it means a sort of key assembly of people or something like that. Aren't I something? Oh, ta-da, I see. You say ta-da, which is what we'll say when we finish the puzzle and declare, aren't I something? I'll probably forget to do that. Dating preference, one's type. You're not my type, you could say. You're not my dating preference. Fondue pots was indeed the answer, as I suspected, but was not certain. Oscar-nominated director Gerwig, Greta Gerwig, an appropriate answer on the day of the release of the Barbieheimer double feature, because she, of course, directed the Barbie film that comes out today. Ding, 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 we have a winner. You got it, or you get, or something. Big part of California. Big Sur? So this is a region of California. It's called Big Sur, and I'm wondering if this punny clue, because we do have the question mark pun indicator, I'm wondering if that's indicating that the big part is actually, well, the big word is actually literally part of the phrase. It's hard to refer to the word big without sounding like you're just using the adjective. Preceder of Christmas, Merry Christmas. So it precedes. So again, it's light misdirection. It looks like this is referring to the period of time preceding Christmas, but in fact it's referring to a word that precedes the word Christmas, merry, frequently. Kitchen variety. And one who's out and about. So it could have something to do with someone being out in terms of their sexual orientation. I'm wondering because of the question mark. Could be something else. I've been sort of double fooled by that before. Not sure. What about this one? All right, we looked at that already. Let's keep going around the grid. Account. An account could be a tale, maybe. You tell an account, you give your account, you tell a tale, I'm not sure. Quad blank, 2022 record jump achieved by Ilya Malinin. Quad axle, I would think. Sort of one of those spinning jumps. Figure skating and that sort of thing. Fancy wheels. Your ride, maybe? You could refer to your ride as your fancy wheels. Those are both sort of slang terms to refer to a vehicle. I'm not sure if that's right, though, because I don't know if ride necessarily implies fancy, per se. Billboard number, maybe. Is it referring to Billboard music charts? I don't know about ride. Thames Town. So presumably this just means a town located on the River Thames, which also runs through the town where I live, which is London. But it's not London because that doesn't fit. So it could be Eton, which is a town famous for its private preparatory school, I guess, which has educated many UK prime ministers and is also on the River Thames. So let's see if that helps. Billboard number, maybe. Name that means no one in Latin. Oh, Nemo. Captain Nemo. That name means no one in Latin. I have encountered that fact before. The Jules Verne character. And Fancy Wheels is a limo. Right, okay, it wasn't ride. That wasn't specific enough, which didn't seem that it was. So an account is a tale. Oh, right. Is that what was that my first guess? I can't remember, but I think it's panned out. Billboard number, maybe. I mean, it looks like exit. Why is that the case? Oh, is this referring to... Does this mean a sort of exit number on a motorway? Is that what this is talking about? I think that might be what this is referring to. That's really interesting. That's a very clever clue and very cleverly camouflaged. Wow. Yeah, well done. Boundary for first and goal plays. I'm going to guess this is 10-yard line. And this has something to do with downs in American football. I don't... I'm not being intentionally obtuse here. I genuinely... That is about as far as my knowledge goes. There's something about sort of first down and... yeah. Anyway, I I suspect this is the answer. It sounds familiar, but I'm aware that my knowledge is thin in this area. Traffic director could be a pylon, which directs traffic simply enough. Orange cone, that sort of thing. I guess it doesn't need to be an orange cone, but you know what I mean. Exchange rings. Woman's name that becomes a country when its vowels are swapped. Interesting. Okay, so this vowel would be a different vowel because we'd swap it somewhere else in the clue. I'm not sure, though, unfortunately, immediately. I wish I could just grab that. First national magazine to feature Steve Jobs on the cover. That's interesting. I wonder when that was. The 80s, maybe? I don't know. I mean, there's a sort of business-oriented magazine called Inc. or INC. I don't know which pronunciation is preferred. And that's 3 letters long. And as a famous business person, it could be that that's what he was on. I don't really know how long that magazine has existed. It probably existed at that point. Woman's name that right. Oh, right. Let's see. Look, so if this were an I, then what could this be? Lisa or Nina? I'm trying to think what the country could be as well. What would that be? Woman's name that becomes a country when its vowels are swapped. Oh, sorry, I'm not quite saying it. Okay. Towers from which Muezzins announce call to prayer. Well, this is sorry, I probably really butchered that pronunciation, but these are minarets. This is referring to the Muslim call to prayer. Minarets, I can't seem to speak, are the common architectural feature that we would associate with the source of that call to prayer. So that I'm pretty confident is the answer. Muse of lyric poetry, Arato, one of the mythological muses, who comes. Actually, I do remember Arato coming up occasionally in the New York Crossword years ago. Have not seen her as often recently, but I think comes and goes, I suppose. Opening gambit of sorts, and cobs, e.g. corn cobs. Not sure. Some names on buildings. What I might be. I might be. Could it be referring to the letter I as an abbreviation for something, maybe? Oh, no, it could be the Roman numeral I for one. Yes, I bet that's what it is. That fits. Very clever. Another bit of misdirection there. Nothing blank, nothing doing is a phrase that you could use to sort of, just give a broad negative response. Some names on buildings are donors. Names could be etched into a building, perhaps, or featured in some other way. Oh, barbershop fixture, right, is a tenor. So this is referring to a barbershop quartet, so a singing group, generally a male singing group, and you could have a tenor voice as one of the voices there. Okay, opening gambit of sorts is plan A. So your opening gambit would be plan A. If it doesn't work out, you move on to plan B. There we go. To suddenly think of something is to hit on, which is what I feel I've done several times in this puzzle, where something seemed baffling at first glance. Then you eventually hit on it. Heroine of novels set at Lilac Inn, Shadow Ranch, and Redgate Farm. I never read any of the Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys books growing up. I mean, I was aware of them, but I assume this is Nancy Drew, the teenage sleuth, I guess, and based on this DRE. So I suspect this is the answer. And here we have swan. Oh, cob, swans, yes. A cob is a male swan, right, as opposed to a pen, a female swan. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So there we go. Not so much misdirection, just vague. You don't necessarily, cobs can have several meanings. You don't necessarily know what it's referring to initially. Exchange rings. Play or pray. Play. Exchange. Oh, play phone tag. Right. When you sort of call somebody, they aren't available. They call you back, you aren't available, and it keeps going back and forth. Phone tag. That used to be more relevant in the landline era, but I suppose there's no reason it couldn't still exist. It's just tougher to exist since most people have their phone with them at most times. Okay, so the woman's name that becomes a country when its vowels are swapped. Lila, that doesn't make any sense. I cannot think what this is. That's so frustrating. Oh, this does look like INC, doesn't it? So, what other women's names are there? Looking at my keyboard here to remind myself of the possible letters. I can't believe I'm not seeing this. Oh, this looks like data mine. Oh, data mines. So, oh, Mali and Mila. Yeah, okay. I didn't even think of the name Mila. But of course, Mali is a country, so there we go. We've done it. Okay. And then data mines, not data scrapes, but you pull and analyze all that information. You do some data mining. There we go. Certainly a relevant modern concept. Knight clubs are maces. A medieval knight could go to war with a mace. And example of exemplary service is an ace. Oh, in tennis, right. Okay, so here's another bit of misdirection. This is service referring to a tennis serve, not kind of work you've done on behalf of someone else. So an ace is a serve that is not returned. Therefore, an exemplary example, I guess. Example of exemplary. Slightly redundant. Highly trained body. Little buggers. Possible result of a major fall. I'm wondering if this is somehow a music reference or something. It sounds like a line from the Leonard Cohen song Hallelujah, but let's see, it's the opposite, I guess. Highly trained body. I don't know. Have we looked at these yet? I can't remember. Kitchen variety we did. We didn't look at the rest. Xeriscape garden plants. Algae? I don't know if that's right. I don't think it is. That's not really a garden plant thing. Xeriscape garden plants. Ding, 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 we have a winner. Oh, you guessed it. Ding, 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 we have a winner. You guessed it. There we go. Those are both phrases you could say either individually or together to sort of congratulate somebody in maybe a slightly jokingly over-the-top way. Kitchen variety. Galley isn't really variety. UNESCO World Heritage listings are sites. UNESCO World Heritage sites. I mean, I think is that the official phrase or one of the ways you can refer to these? I think so. I mean, this is referring to areas of historical importance, globally. And I think they're often referred to as sites. Why wouldn't they be? They're places. Amazed reactions could be gasps, maybe. That's a way you could respond to something in an amazed way. Zaphod Beeblebrox. Oh, I haven't seen this name in a long time. Zaphod Beeblebrox in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, for one. This is the series of sort of comedy science fiction novels by Douglas Adams and originally radio programs. And Zaphod Beeblebrox was a two-headed character, right? Oh, but I guess in general he was an alien. So that's the easier get there. Okay, kitchen variety. Is it? Maybe it is galley. Oh, a variety of kitchen. I read this originally as meaning a variety of things that could be found in a kitchen, or a type of something. But no, it's a variety of kitchen itself. So a galley kitchen. There we go. Oh, is this aloes, the official medicinal plant of the New York Times crossword? I think it might be xeriscape garden plants, because is the xeriscape referring to a sort of very dry environment, and aloes certainly do not require much water. I think that might be the case. Apologies if I'm misremembering the meaning of xeriscape or the prefix xera. Kind of drawing, a lotto drawing. So it could be a prize drawing. Randomly chosen numbers. Little buggers are pet peeves. It's just a small something that bugs me. I don't think I've heard little buggers used to refer to a pet peeve before, but it sounds perfectly plausible and it gets the meaning across, so there we go. Highly trained body. Right. I still don't quite see what this is. Naval something? Possible result of a major fall. And one who's out and about. Oh, a sleepwalker. You're out, in other words, you're unconscious, you're not awake, but you're also about. You're walking around, you're a sleepwalker. Very good. Oh, snow days. See, again, just more very clever cluing in here. So a major snowfall, a major fall, a major snowfall could result in a snow day, in school being called off. Very good, very clever. Place to find a hammer and anvil. Well, this is not referring to the sort of, I don't know, blacksmith's tools, but rather to the ear. Those are names of bones in the ear. And, oh, Navy SEALs, highly trained body. I don't know, I'm just wondering based on the Navy inclusion here. Runs, well, if a television network runs a program, it airs that program. So there we go. It does look like Navy SEALs, doesn't it? How theremin music sounds. So theremin, right, is the instrument that is controlled simply by moving your hand in the air near the antenna of the theremin. No sort of physical touching of the instrument is involved. And it has a very eerie kind of sound associated with mid-century science fiction, I suppose. It's got this sort of permanent glissando. The music is always kind of bending from one note to the next because it's following the kind of smooth movements of your hand. Highly trained body. It just does look like Navy SEALs. I'm going to put it in, see if it works. Magazine that debuted in France in 1945 and the U.S. in 1985. Elle magazine. Well, I wouldn't have guessed it was that late in the U.S. That's interesting. 40 years after its French introduction. Which I suppose means it's coming up to the point at which it's been in the U.S. for exactly half the amount of time it's been in France. A completely pointless observation, but I've made it nonetheless. Group cultivated by a recruiter. It could be a talent pool. Oops. Creatures that can regrow a lost tooth up to 50 times. Alligator. Alligators, creatures, it says. Interesting. I think I've heard that alligators can regrow their teeth. So that's fascinating and slightly terrifying. Joy of MSNBC. Presumably this is a person. Joy Reid, it looks like, is probably the most likely name here. Cancelled to a philatelist. So that's referring to a stamp collector. And if it's a canceled stamp, it's been used. So it's, I suppose probably not as valuable to the collector. Unless maybe, I wonder, would there be a reason that a stamp might be somehow even more valuable if it has an incredibly interesting or historically significant postmark? I don't know anything about this hobby, so I don't know, but just wondering. Cross-shaped tau, so this is referring to the Greek letter, so there we go. That was what that was. Group that might get a talking to by the principal. So here we're not referring to a sort of, presumably at least, we're not referring to a stern disciplinary talking to, but rather simply a conversation with the principal of a school, maybe to the PTA, the Parent Teacher Association. So another bit of very light misdirection there. Like electromagnetic radiation with the shortest wavelength, is that gamma rays? Gamma radiation, it must be. I've certainly heard of it. I wouldn't have been able to tell you without any crosses what the shortest wavelength radiation was, but there we go. Calamity could be one's a doom, maybe? It's a calamity, it's doom, maybe. World War II hero who retired from the military to run for president. So Dwight D. Eisenhower, I would think. And then a temple building could be a dormitory at a temple, I suppose. And then, or maybe, you know what? This is probably referring to Temple University. And then, it could be both. Anyway, actress Lanchester looks like Elsa Lanchester. And then that does confirm DDE for Dwight D. Eisenhower. Get metal from, in a way. You could smelt ore, and then you'd get metal out of it. And that's part of the process of refining ore, I suppose. This could be row or row. So it could be row meaning, in a table, a row in a table, but it could also mean a row, meaning an argument or a fight. So a snit, I think of that usually as being more of an individual thing, not so much an argument. So I don't think that's the case. Oh, but a spat. You could be having a spat with somebody. You could be having a row. There we go. A Midsummer Night's Dream character, right, the mischievous character Puck. Certainly a memorable character from the Shakespeare play. A good deal could be much. I want much of it. I want a good deal of it. Yeah, that works perfectly well. More than a twinge. If you have more than a twinge, maybe you feel a bit of an ache in a joint or something. And to say something again is to echo it. And finally, defeater of Jormungandr would be Thor. Apologies again if I've mispronounced something else in this puzzle. But anyway, the Norse god Thor. So there we go. As always, from Robin Weintraub, a delightful Friday puzzle. I just really, really enjoy these. I think she's got an incredibly good knack for writing these clever, punny clues. Not a brutally difficult puzzle in terms of its sort of fill, but it's just all, basically, you never stop having to be on your guard. You're always, even with fairly simple clues, sometimes you have to think about it. I mean, for even this example of exemplary service, I mean, there's no question mark. It's not a pun technically. You just have to make sure you're thinking about service in more than one possible way. And there are things like that throughout the puzzle, as well as the more expressly punny ones, like the class some people are dying to get into, which is the sort of, sort of Disney Haunted Mansion style kind of pun. But there we have it. That was a very enjoyable Friday puzzle, I think. Hopefully you enjoyed as well. Let me know in the comments how you fared with this one. I imagine that for people for whom English is a second language, these are probably tougher puzzles, maybe. I don't know. I would think so, because so many of them deal with needing to think of words in different senses. As someone who's attempting to learn other languages, it can be difficult to remember that kind of thing. So I don't know. That's just something that occurred to me having completed this puzzle. But there we go. That was the Friday puzzle for July 21st. And let us look at a few clues from yesterday's puzzle, because I did set some aside today. So first, from Rahul Ricky, who explains, Equatorial Guinea is the only Spanish-speaking African country. So that was the one country referred to in yesterday's puzzle. Thank you for that. Stephen Giblin has some context on IBM's Watson, which competed on Jeopardy against Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, the two highest winners on the show at the time, and came out the winner. So there we have it. I suppose something like Jeopardy, that is essentially straightforward knowledge access, is precisely the kind of thing that, especially increasingly these days, the way that AI works would be fairly good at dealing with, I suppose. Especially short, discrete things like Jeopardy answers. Anyway, Stephen Giblin goes on to explain, Naples, Florida is on the Gulf of the Ghost of Mexico. So this was the clue that referred to a city in a gulf in two different countries, something like that. So we would have Naples, Florida, and then obviously Naples, Italy. And then John Mayhew has a small pronunciation check. Derek Jacoby's surname has the emphasis on Jack, making Jacoby's a rhythm for Maccabees. And there we go. That's exactly one of those things where I know that I said it incorrectly at the time. As soon as I hear it correctly, I think, yes, of course, that's right. It sounds so much more sort of correct and familiar. But as I often do in the moment on these videos, I just sort of, my brain freezes up. And thank you for the correction. John Mayhew also goes on to point out that Stan Wawrinka is a 37-year-old Swiss professional tennis player. That's something that is not familiar to me even after the explanation, so thank you for that. And finally, Long Way to Tipperary points out something I've been told before but completely forgot, which is that TMZ, the website, its name stands for 30-mile zone, or it's named sort of in reference to the 30-mile zone, a 30-mile radius of Berkeley Boulevard and Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles, California, used in film and television industry. And yes, I've certainly encountered that phrase before, more commonly referring to its use in film production. It has something, I believe it has something to do with how sort of it might be stipulated in union contracts. I don't remember, but it's something to do with what counts as actually filming in Los Angeles. It's the 30-mile zone. Anyway, there we have it. Those were the clues from yesterday's puzzle. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed today's puzzle and today's video. I'll be back tomorrow for another themeless puzzle, possibly a more straightforwardly difficult one than this. That's often what happens on a Saturday. So do join me for that second of two themeless puzzles for the week. But until then, please do have an excellent remainder of your Friday. Take care.